Some people get on your nerves without yelling or cursing, just with one simple sentence, a certain tone, or even a look. And the bad part is, you don't even understand what exactly happened. Hours later, your mind is still stuck on it and won't let you go. You keep replaying the conversation and creating answers that don't matter anymore. And in the end, you feel like this person has control over me. I used to believe the same thing. I thought some people had direct access to my emotions. For a long time, I thought the problem was people's behavior. I kept telling myself people are careless, rude, or just don't get it. I thought if I'm hurt, then someone must be hurting me on purpose. But then I noticed a strange contradiction. The same sentence that destroys me when one person says it means nothing when someone else says it. Same behavior, same words, but my reaction is different. That's when a question got stuck in my mind. If the problem is people's behavior, why doesn't everyone bother me? Why can only some people do this? That's when I realized the problem isn't only outside. A big part of it is inside my own mind. It's never the behavior itself that ruins your mood. It's the meaning your mind creates in that exact second. The brain gives meaning first, then turns on the emotion. That meaning decides whether you stay calm or explode. When your mind says, "That was disrespectful," your body gets ready to fight. When your mind says, "This has nothing to do with me," nothing happens. The difference isn't the other person's behavior. The difference is the story you told yourself. And the important part is that this story can change, not by force, just by seeing it. Why does the mind always choose the worst interpretation? Because the mind is built for survival, not peace. It creates the worst scenario to stay ready, not accurate. When it's unsure, it goes straight to the most dangerous meaning, because for the mind, a pessimistic mistake feels safer than optimism. That's why you see a neutral sentence as a threat and a normal look as disrespect. The mind prefers to be wrong rather than be surprised. The problem is this protection has a psychological cost. Every time you accept the worst interpretation, you give away your peace. And when you understand this, you can pause before believing it. One simple event, two completely different results. Imagine two people hearing the exact same sentence. One of them ruins their whole day and keeps replaying it. The other forgets it a few minutes later, even though the event was the same for both.
The difference starts with the meaning each one created. One of them creates the meaning, "That was disrespectful." The other thinks the person probably wasn't feeling well. The emotion doesn't come from the sentence itself. It comes from the meaning you gave it. When you understand this, you see that your reaction isn't a must. It's a choice, usually an unconscious one. And that means it can become more conscious. When you get upset, what exactly are you defending? Most of the time, the upset feeling isn't about the words. It's about the meaning you feel has been attached to you. Like something about your identity has been questioned, your respect, your worth, or the image you have of yourself. Anger usually comes to block that feeling, like a fast shield that doesn't give you time to think. But if you look closely, you see there's no real danger, just a quick fear that got taken too seriously. When you understand what you're defending, the intensity drops because you're no longer fighting blindly. Why some people never put pressure on you. Some people can talk all they want and you feel nothing. You don't get upset, angry, or involved. Not because their words are nicer, but because your mind didn't give their words any weight. Their opinion isn't connected to your identity. They didn't touch a place that needs defense. That's why no reaction forms. Pressure doesn't always come from outside. It comes from the place where you take the words seriously. When the weight disappears, the pressure disappears too. The moment someone's opinion becomes too important. At some point, someone's opinion stops being just an opinion. You start measuring yourself with it. Your mind says, if this is true, then something is wrong with me.
That's when you become sensitive. That's when the defense starts. Because it's no longer about the words, it's about your worth. The more important the opinion becomes, the stronger the reaction. And without noticing, you lose control of your state. This is exactly the moment you need to be aware, because power is either given here or taken back here. The common mistake about being easygoing. Many people think being easygoing means nothing matters to you, like pretending everything is fine and acting numb. But that's not being easygoing. That's running away. The feeling is still there, you just swallowed it. And whatever you swallow comes back up later. Real ease is knowing what matters and what doesn't, not making everything equally meaningless. When you don't know the difference, you either burn or explode. But when you understand it, you become calm without becoming empty. And that's the balance we're looking for. A simple practice I use before reacting. Every time a word or behavior bothers me, my first decision is not to respond right away. Even if I have the answer ready, I create a short pause on purpose. This pause isn't for calming down, it's for seeing what happened. In those few seconds, I ask myself what exactly triggered me. Was it their tone that felt disrespectful? Or the meaning I created without being sure? Or maybe an old fear got activated that has nothing to do with this moment? These questions help me step out of automatic reaction. When you understand the exact trigger, it stops being vague and scary. Naming the feeling reduces its power. After that, it's time for the decision. Will reacting make anything better, or is it just emotional release? Many times I see that staying silent makes the situation calmer, and then I realize that silence isn't weakness, it's clarity. How to distance yourself from someone's opinion without being rude. Creating distance doesn't always mean cutting them off or responding harshly. Often, it just means not putting their opinion above your own. It means listening but not accepting it right away. It means not feeling the need to explain, defend, or prove anything. When you feel you must prove something, their opinion has become too important. Distance starts when you notice your need for approval. You don't need to argue, you just need to avoid rushing into a reaction. Respecting someone is different from taking their opinion as truth. When you understand this difference, you stay calm without looking rude. A sign that shows you're getting triggered again. Before you even realize you're upset, your body reacts. A subtle pressure shows up, like something tightening in your chest. Your jaw gets tight, or your shoulders rise without you noticing. At that moment, your mind starts replaying the scene. The things I should have said start coming one after another. This is exactly the point where the conflict is forming. Not with the other person, with your own interpretation. If you miss this moment, the reaction becomes automatic. But if you notice it right there, you still have control. Because before every reaction, there's always a warning. How to turn reaction into choice. Reactions usually happen in the first few seconds, before you even know what happened. That's why the first step is stopping, not analyzing. Even a 3-second pause changes everything. After the pause, you need to understand what got activated, not who's to blame. Was it a feeling of disrespect? Or fear of judgment? When you name the feeling, it stops being foggy. Then you ask whether responding will solve anything. If it's only to release your emotion, that's a reaction. But if it's intentional, that becomes a choice. That's the turning point. The reaction stops coming from pressure. It becomes a decision. Emotional independence isn't what most people think. Many think it means forced numbness or suppressing feelings. But that kind doesn't last. Real strength comes from knowing not every word deserves a reaction. When you respond to everything, you spread your energy everywhere. Real independence means choosing when to enter the game, not avoiding it out of fear. This power comes from knowing your own worth, from knowing other people's opinions don't define you. When you understand this, peace isn't an accident. It's the result of conscious choices. If emotional independence was just a quick decision, everyone would have it. The truth is, the mind has practiced reacting fast for years. So don't expect everything to change after understanding it once. Every time you don't react, you build a new path in your mind. A path that feels strange and difficult at first. The brain loves going back to old habits. The same fast reaction, the same old conflict. Practice means acting against that habit on purpose, even if you don't get it right at first. Every time you pause and delay the reaction, you get stronger. Real independence is built from these small pauses, not from one big decision. All conflicts look the same at first, but their purpose is different. Some conflicts solve real problems, and some only release emotions. The problem starts when we mix the two.
When you enter a conflict just because you feel bad, you rarely feel better afterward. A meaningful conflict brings clarity or relief, but an emotional conflict only adds exhaustion and overthinking. One way to tell the difference is to check your goal. If your goal is just to make the other person realize they were wrong, you're wasting energy. But if your goal is solving a problem, setting a boundary, or making a decision, then the conflict might be necessary. When you understand this difference, many reactions disappear on their own, because your mind realizes not everything is worth entering. People don't change, but their impact does. Many times we expect people to change so we can feel better. But the truth is, most people stay the way they are. What can change is the amount of impact you give them. When you expect change from outside, you hand over control of your state. But when you work on your reaction, the control comes back. People's impact starts when you make their words a standard, or when you see their behavior as a sign of your worth. When you cut that connection, the same person says the same thing, but it no longer hits you the same way. That's where real change happens, not in people, in how you face them. The last mental trap that pulls you back in. After working on yourself for a while, you might think you shouldn't react like before. This expectation slowly becomes a strict rule in your mind. Every time you get upset, instead of understanding the feeling, you start blaming yourself. This self-blame doesn't calm you, it makes the conflict deeper. The real problem is that your mind wants to delete emotions, but emotions are meant to be seen, not erased. When you allow yourself to feel upset without judgment, the intensity drops. But when you attack it with, "I shouldn't feel this way," it lasts longer. This is the last trap, trying to be perfect instead of being aware. If I want to summarize all of this in one line, it's not about controlling others. Everything changes when you understand your reactions aren't automatic. When you stop seeing every word as a threat, your mind works calmer. And when your mind is calmer, your decisions become clearer. Real independence means knowing when to enter a situation and when not to. Not by killing your feelings, but by not letting them drive you. People will keep saying the same things and acting the same way. The difference starts when you stop taking everything personally. That's when you save your energy for what truly matters. And that's the freedom you were looking for. If you made it this far in the video, it means this topic touched you somewhere. You've probably experienced how one simple sentence can ruin your whole mood. What we talked about today is meant to help you stop it right there. Not with numbness, with awareness. If you think this video can help someone else, send it to them. Maybe it's exactly the sentence they need to hear. If you want more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And if you have an experience or a question, write it in the comments. I read them myself and use them for future videos, because this journey is something we're going through together.